on
Instagram.
Good. I
Okay,
saw
guys.
Tina last week. That's great.
I know. We broke the internet.
Powerful women.
So, my friends, the goal of this show is to actually take the time to share stories, because we have a very, speedy life. And how often, unless you do a bonfire and then you go and you start sharing stories, right? Then what about in your business? What type of stories could we share? So today, thank you for coming with us, Helen. This show is I always say this, it's sponsored by my program. It's called the Audience DNA Lab, where we actually deep dive on what type of stories you can share in your marketing. And this show is exactly to inspire you to either become an entrepreneur, because you'll see when Helen tells her story about this one, it's going to be juicy. And you probably could identify with her, because we all go through the same human story, spiritual story, like the becoming of who we are here, right? So, okay, enough talking, Angelique. Helen, bonjour, madame.
Bonjour. And you know what? There's a little bit of a delay, so I'm not sure if that's going to impact it. Like I'm hearing two voices.
Oh, so maybe your earphones are not, you should have one earphone from one device and then the other one on the other one.
I do, but I don't know if that's canceling out. Let me just move one for a second. So what you can do
is to remove the volume on your phone, and then you won't hear it anymore. If you put the volume down on your phone, you should be
on
good.
My phone. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you won't hear it anymore.
Okay.
Here we go. We're breaking the internet again, maybe.
And I don't need to keep my earphone in, or should I? That's the thing.
Well, it's up to you. Up to you, but
okay. How's that?
I'm good. I hear you very well. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
You feel good? So one lesson here, ladies, don't let technology, stop you. We're going to keep going, right?
Go with the flow. The flow.
Helen, tell us, before we go deep and dive, tell us who you serve on this planet.
Oh, such an interesting thing, because I have changed and evolved over the years. And I'm going to say something that everybody may not like, but I never liked the word serve or service. It's a thing with me. And I just read something recently, and I know everybody says that, but I think it's more about making contribution. And our contribution can change, just as who we help and how we give back can change and evolve with you as you grow as a person. So right now, in my business, I focus on helping organizations, senior leaders, and the people within to create amazing cultures that are heart-centered.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Well, it means that if you are heart-centered and you are internally in a good place, and you believe in your purpose and your passion, and that aligns, and your values align with the organization that you are as an employee working with, then you will give back more to your organization, to your clients or customers, to your community, and to the world at large.
Ooh,
so it's a big challenge.
Yeah. Helen, I see that you're looking at your phone, right?
Okay.
Look at the camera on your desktop. I know it's tricky, yeah? It's just we're trying to be everywhere at the same time. But it's just because I'm going to do some editing after, and I want your eyes to look at your main camera.
Okay.
It doesn't mean we don't love you on Instagram, right? We can do some like...
Right now I see foreheads. It's so funny, because there's been some research right now, and this is the thing, we're not sitting face to face, so I'm looking at this dot on my laptop trying to figure that all out. And I was reading some research lately that because we're all online because of the pandemic and everything, even when you're on a one-on-one, you should actually turn off your own self-view, because it's not good for the brain. It's your brain is trying to look everywhere, and that actually you should only be focusing on one place. And that's why some people are burning out. More people are having to, focus. Like multitasking is a myth, right? So anyway, I'll do my best.
No, you're good. It's all good. Yeah. So Helen, what's the name of your business?
My business is called Life Works Well. And it's an interesting name. And the reason so when I first started my business, it was way back in 2008. I had just finished a maternity leave with my son, and it took me 7 years to have my second miracle child. And it was after a very, very long trials and tribulations, infertility, several failed processes that I had to go through, actually some adoption stories. It's a long, long story. But after having him, I went back to my organization for about a month. But during that time off, I had thought about, what, I'm not sure I really am a corporate person. And so I had started to think about starting my business then. And I came up with, and so I left. I went back for about a month after my mat leave. And then I said, no, this isn't for me. There isn't anything I want to do. We worked it out together. And I started a business called Life Works Well, because to me, work is just part of life. And wellness is really important. So that's how I came up with the name, because if you're not well, if you're not healthy, your work and life isn't going to be well integrated. And, so that's sort of the story behind coming up with that name. And in my career at that time, I was doing a lot of work with organizations on life work programs. So, you talk about all this remote work and work from home and flexible work. Well, I was doing that, 20 years ago. So that's what's kind of interesting.
You were like an innovator.
I was a pioneer before I knew it.
Wow. Yeah, that's I love this, because my God, it's really, I'm sharing on my profile here. That's why you see me moving everywhere, because this is really the heart of the matter right now. How to feel good at work, especially when there's so many struggles, like the external stuff that we don't control, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting because right now this, some organizations weren't prepared for how many employees were going to be working from home. And even though it is done in many organizations, tech, for example, and things like that, but they weren't prepared a year ago or so. And so it was all of a sudden, how do we set people up for success? Are they even, like, for example, technology right now, like, are they even set up properly? Do they have ergonomic setup? Like, I am right now even dealing with employees that are getting injured because they never set themselves up properly, and they're hunched over and they're not ergonomically set up properly at a home office. They, a lot of times they didn't think they were going to be home that long. So there's so with the work I do, it's really about helping employees be the best that they can be for their organizations, right? And the organizations, the values have to align. And part of that is, how are you supporting people right now? Burnout, mental health issues were already difficult before the pandemic. So a lot of it has, even created a little bit more challenge for leaders, for organizations, to keep people motivated. So that's, I try to help with that culture, create a culture. A lot of part of that is mentoring and coaching as well. So really just, and it's hard in the human resources, human relations field, I call it. It's hard to keep that positivity when there is all that negativity around you. So a lot of it starts on that internal work. And one of the things I said when I first started for a long time was, life works well when you do. Because if you're not working well, to your point, you may use the word serves or whatever, but you're not going to be able to help others. You're not going to be able to give back. You're not going to be able to take care of your family or your parents or the people at work. This human relations profession I'm in, it takes a lot out of you. So you have to be very grounded to be able to help others and to be there for them. Sometimes we're a counselor, sometimes we're a complaint department, so really it's weaving that in, and that's where I get the joy from, seeing someone feel okay after a conversation with them.
Ooh, thank you. Now I understand even better what you do. I love the name of your business, Life Works Well. And now you say, when you do, I love this. I love this. So before Life Works Well, Helen, let's go back to the little girl. What in that little girl do you think drove you to what you do right now? Like, what was your thing when you were playing? What was your play, like your go-to play? Come and play with me. Play what?
Oh my gosh. It's funny because as I said, I didn't really prepare well for today, but I've been thinking about the journey. And, everybody says, go back to that toddler or go back to that 10-year-old. And my picture of my 10-year-old is a lot of freedom. And I used to love, this is so weird, but I used to love running outside with bare feet in my bathing suit when it was pouring rain. It was like, if there's a rainstorm and it's so hot in the summer, and it's like that freedom, and that's my word of the year, by the way. But I think it's more about a feeling. And you mentioned that to me before we started, was like, how do you want to feel every day? And when you're giving back. So for me, I've always been in giving mode, I think, legal profession before, but it's hard to believe, but I was very shy growing up. Public speaking, I used to cry if I had to do a speech. Like that is so, I would just be so nervous. And if I messed up, I'd be like teary-eyed. And even in university, like it's hard to believe that was me. So I think just if I can go back to that person that like did not have the fear and just run and go for it and be free, it's a little bit of a different feeling. So, you just have to for me, I think a lot of it has been going with the flow. I've changed a lot. I don't feel like I had a dream and that's all. I knew what I was going to do. I didn't. I just kind of was more of this feels good right now person. And that's not for everybody, right? But that, for me, if I no longer feel that I'm passionate or enjoying it or fulfilled, it's time to move on. And so that's sort of, even now with the business, it's evolving again in focusing a little bit more on mentorship. I see someone I know joined, Porter, a good friend of mine, Christine. Hi. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's great.
So where did you grow up? Tell us more about you when you were a child.
So I grew up in Toronto, in the west end of Toronto, in a little, used to be called the borough of Etobicoke. So it's still Etobicoke, Toronto. And my parents were both born in Poland. They didn't meet there, so they were immigrants to Canada. And my older brother and sister were actually born in England. So my parents met in England. They had their first 2 children there. Then they came to Canada because, Canada is that bright future. So, but we lived in housing. So we didn't have a lot growing up. We grew up in very modest accommodations, 5 children in a very, very small place. They're called like townhouses. So they're row houses in a way. And so there was a lot of stigma involved in living there. Not everybody had the best situations and family lives there. I was the middle child. I guess I was a problem child, but that must be it. A rebel. But yeah, so it was a little bit, for a long time, I grew up. I mean, it was a mess. Like I had 2 sisters. So there were 3 of us in one bedroom. And so it was tight, right? It was tight quarters. And I just remember like chaos always and, things like that. So because it wasn't like this lot of space. So I think for me, There was a lot of wanting to get out, which is sad in a way, but at the same time pushed me. Like, I was the first one to go to university in the family, like just really drove myself to do other things. And I think that's because, when you're younger, you don't realize what the world's like, right? You don't know that there's this whole universe that's available until you start going to school. You get older, you see more around you, and you're, oh, wait a minute, I think there's a little bit more for me. I worked from a young age too. Like, I always had a job.
Yeah.
So I think that was what we were talking about earlier, is like what kind of drove me to have my own business and things. Like, I liked having a little bit of money to go and buy myself a banana split across the street or things like that. So when I was thinking back to growing up there, we still had a lot of fun. And the entrepreneur piece is really interesting, because now that I think about it, we did haunted houses all the time. For the little neighborhood kids, we'd have like shopping carts and take them through these things and charge them a small fee, and our Kool-Aid stands or jewelry stands. So like, in hindsight, I think, oh, there was that little bit of entrepreneurship and wanting to kind of drive that revenue and, getting some money so I can spend. And as I got jobs later, like, I always like nice clothes. And so it's that independence, I think, that kind of drove me. So, but yeah, so I had a lot of good memories despite living in an area that people from outside would judge. If they found out, oh, you're from there, like, they may look at you differently because it's poverty or it's, lower income or something like that. But, we had a lot of fun still. In that area, we would play. I learned to play chess from someone there. We used to play euchre, the game euchre, card game. It's like 4 people play. It's a card game, but we used to play that outside, or hide and seek and things like that. So there was still a great life, growing up.
Yeah. I love that you share about, the fact that it was stigmatic. Like, when you were saying that if you said that you were from there, then people would say, oh, or think something, and you knew what they were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of my story. I was from the farm going to the school in the city, and I was, in France, they call this the dirty butt. I was a dirty butt because I was from a farm, right? So there was the stigma. So I'm very curious, because for me, I'm clear on, this is because or thanks to this that I am who I am today. So tell me more about that, to be the one we point like that for years and years, even if we pretend that, it's that's what made us. And what did you think it shaped in who you are today as a business owner?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, it's one of those things that, for the longest time, I'd say I was always searching and wanting more, right? For the longest time. And you realize, and you read about this now, or you hear about it, where, all the money in the world isn't going to make you a happy person, right? You can have very little and still be very fulfilled. But I think back then I was always striving, right? Because I wanted more. And I wanted to have a little bit of nicer things and make my own way and be the one that did that. My mother, God bless her, she really raised 5 children on her own. Even though my dad was still there, he passed away when he was 67, and he was almost 10 years older than my mom. So she was actually almost my age when he passed. So she was kind of like, if I think about it now, that would be me, losing my husband now, which would be very young still, right? And so, I looked at her and her life of taking care of 5 kids, and she still worked and she took care of everything. Like, when there were 7 of us still in the house and working or going to school, She was the one up early, making everybody's lunches and doing the cleaning. And I'm going to tell you, I said to myself, I don't want that life. Like, that's terrible. But I did not want, I wanted to do more. And I guess that's that freedom person, right? Like, see the world and travel and do things. So I think that's kind of what drove me a lot. Obviously, when I went to school, like high school, and met other friends and would go visit their homes, I had no idea that there was something else out there. I had no idea that. And so it started with a little bit of longing or wanting more, but then realizing that's not what's going to make you happy or successful, right? So it took a while, right? You think you're chasing all the time, and then you're like, wait a minute, no, that's not it. I think the entrepreneur journey, as I said, started most of my life, and this is why life works well, is sort of what makes sense to me, is that most of the decisions I've made in my life, including business or leaving corporate, had to do with life events. So, if you have a death in the family, or you have a very good friend of mine passed of breast cancer at a young age, or you have infertility challenges, it makes you pause and reflect on what is important. And so that's the decision-making piece. So with entrepreneur and having my own business, even though it's like, hey, it's not easy, as you know, it's a lot of grind, it's a lot of work sometimes, having to do accounting and payroll when you start out, and every hat you have to wear. But you have a little bit more choice and control as to what you do, right? You decide, you're the creator, right? And so I think that that's really important. I know I'm getting all over the place, but
no. I ask you. No, you're right on. So you're actually exactly right on, because this is the next question. So let's go back to when Life Works Well didn't exist yet. But I want to know, what was your burning desire before starting your business? Because you could have done any other business, but what was the burning desire there at that time? Can you remember that?
Definitely, because my very first client role and projects were actually in the work-life space. So when I go back now and think about it, it makes so much sense, right? Because when you're in a corporation, there's not as much control. Yes, you can say, I need to go to an appointment. And I always live my life that way. Like, if my son or daughter had a cross-country meet, I'm going. And if I was going to get in trouble later, I'd get in trouble later, right? Like, it's like, I'm sorry. And I think that we used to think that we have no flexibility. So the work-life harmony. So a woman that I did work with, I was at CIBC in human resources prior to starting my business. That would have been the last corporate role I had. And I was the one responsible for our work-life programs. So we had developed them at CIBC, we kept them up to date, we changed them, but I was ultimately responsible. And so I knew that was an area that I thought was very important for, and at the time, women in particular. Now it's a little different, because men are now staying home more, or wanting more flexible life, or wanting to have more time and not be working 24/7. So that really is still a lot of the driving force, is that we need to have that integration between our life and work. And I don't think it's balance, right? It's more about feeling in harmony. And the first woman I worked with as my business, Life Works Well, her company was called Work Life Harmony. And she was the guru of life work. She helped us at the bank and create our programs. She helped all the large organizations. Her name's Nora Spinks, and she was one of my first mentors. And she also was the woman, she was working with the government to introduce employment insurance for maternity and parental leave. So that is the driving passion, is like helping people integrate their life and work in a way that they feel grounded all the time. They're not stressed out. They're not, and they can say yes to going to a concert for their kids in the middle of the day versus a meeting that could probably wait or someone could update them later. So when I think about that, it's really about supporting employees to be able to feel like they have a bit more control over their day. Like it's that life work harmony and integration. So it's funny because that's what was the driving force, and it's always a theme throughout everything I do.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. Thank you for zooming in that time, right? So now you have that burning desire, you're clear on what you're trying to accomplish, but what was the biggest struggle at the time to make it happen? Like, you were at CIBC, you had that burning desire, had the best mentor with you. So what was the biggest struggle to make it happen?
Well, what's really interesting, because I started that in 2008, 2009. It was the recession, if you recall, back then. And so, and I had no clue what to do. Thinking about what's available now as far as how to get coaches, how to run a business, what you need to do. I had zero. I didn't know what I was doing. I'll be honest. I'm really good at expertise in the work I do, but like running a business, it was chaos, which is not good, right? You need the structure, the organization. So that was a lot of the challenge. And I would say when I first started, I was more of a freelancer, taking projects, one at a time, not really having a team. So I was doing a lot. And fast forward, I did that for, I would say, about 5 or 6 years. And I was missing some of the interaction, like people interaction. So I actually went back to corporate again for a while. Yeah. I went to a very large global organization called ADP, which was a payroll, known for payroll at the time. But I was hired on to help them with their shift to human resources. So at first they became a more human resource, and they were payroll and human resources technology and management and services. I helped build those products. I was part of the key team with my employment law and HR background. So it was really, really great. And honestly, thinking about life works well. The kids, my daughter was in high school, my son was in grade school, and my work was 10-minute drive. Everything was like when I would get out the door, drop them at both their schools, and be in the office within 20 minutes. Yeah. And I could walk across the street to go to pizza lunch for my son. So again, it still was carving out what worked for me. So I did that for several years, and then my mom wasn't doing too well. And so again, a life event that made me make a decision to leave. And plus I wasn't passionate anymore. I wasn't loving it. It wasn't meant to be. And so I took a bit of a break and did some writing and some teaching, and then I reignited my Life Works Well business. And this time, so I took that hiatus for corporate work. I got the supports. So that's how we met, in an incubator to learn more. But thinking about it, I really didn't start again, reigniting it. And I worked on my infrastructure, getting my website and getting things in place. And then the pandemic hit, because I was really only about a year, if that, not even a year into the reigniting the business again. I thought I picked the worst times to actually start again. But I did really well. And I think the advice I'd give to people out there, and women and men, whoever's starting their business, is that, you do need the supports. You need people in your corner. You can't do it all. You need the expertise, and it's going to help your life work well, right? If you're not trying to do it all. So I've learned a lot this second go round about how to kind of manage and grow the business and take care of myself. Like, despite this pandemic, I'm doing well. It was my first full year in business, and I met pretty much my goal that I had set, close to it. And, the ups and downs, like there's still life things, right? My mom's been in the hospital. Like there's stuff that happens, but I've been able to kind of manage it because I've been taking care of myself. And if I feel like I'm not, then I take that pause and say, you know what, Helen, you got to take care of yourself again, because that's what is going to help you contribute to others and give back to others and be there for people, right?
You're so wise.
Oh, hey, I have some years to work on it. I did everything late in life, Angelique. I'm like a late bloomer, but that's okay.
Who
Better
says
late than
late?
never.
Nobody, yeah. Who say we're late? You're right at the right time. I think that's my philosophy.
Oh,
but you said something. You said, how did you say it? You said when you were like, you said, okay, you went back to corporate, then you said, okay, something happened in my life. Plus, you said, I was not feeling it anymore. It was not meant to be anymore. Tell me more about this. How do you know? How do you feel? Because like you tell the story like I did this and that, I went back and I'm like, easy peasy. No. I'm sure. Like what are the steps?
Oh my gosh. Hey, listen, we don't have all day, but I tell you, it is not like, I have had some ups and downs and challenges. And I think without those downs, you don't realize, you do need to understand yourself. Like I used to be in my head a lot. I was very much in my head, over analyzing everything, like thinking about everybody else, what they think. And I mean, it took me a while to say, it doesn't matter. It's like, what is good for me? But at that time, there was a lot going on. And as I said, it's when life events happen, that's to me the most important thing. And you have to know your values, like, right? If your health is not good, if your family is not good, if the things that are important to you are not good and the values aren't aligning to the work you do, you feel it. You get sick, you get tired, you get grumpy, you're not positive anymore. And you have to kind of listen to, it's your body's reaction, right? It's, if you're not feeling excited and passionate and waking up and wanting to go, you have to stop and pause and say, what is this? Why am I feeling like this? With my mom's declining health, and I was trying to, at the time, so think about it. At the time, my mom's, she has Alzheimer's, dementia, and I didn't realize as much until I started to have to take care of her a little bit more. And my kids were young, so I was still carting them to hockey all the time, and I was trying to be the trainer and the manager and involved in the kids' schools and volunteer for this and try to be it all. And it's like, you know what? You can't do it all at once, right? That's the reality, is you have to kind of, it's the ebbs and flows. And that's where the life work harmony comes, is that you need to be able to see or feel that something is off here. And believe me, people may go through their whole life, and me included, not seeing myself, not seeing yourself in that state. So the self-awareness piece, the reflection piece, and the intuition, like feeling it, takes a while. So during this period of time that was tough, when I felt like, okay, this is not working, I made a decision, and making that decision was leaving. I resigned, and at first they said, do you want to work part-time? Do you want to find something else? We can help you with that. And I said, no, this is not for me. And that's when I decided I was going to probably write a book. And I don't know, this is the thing, Angelique, sometimes these ideas pop in my head and I don't know where they come from. But I think you really need to, you want to feel good. And it hasn't always been easy. There's been lots of downs. Like I've had, a little bit of, anxiety and struggles. And so it's ups and downs. And when I'm taking care of myself and feeling healthy and exercising and eating well and all the things that we know to do, like this is not new stuff, I'm going to do a better job in everything that I do, right?
Thank you for sharing this. Is there anything that you would recommend to implement on a daily basis to keep in touch with yourself? What is the thing you would recommend or you do that works for you that you could share with the lovely people here on Instagram and on Facebook and YouTube and on the podcast?
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people have different rituals and habits and things that they'll start, but more and more I'm appreciative of the pauses, so that quiet time. So if you can just find, whether it's first thing in the morning before you get into your day, before you start taking care of the kids or getting their breakfast or getting your coffee, like find that quiet time. I try to meditate every day. I'm not saying it will happen every day, but I will take a little bit of the time to do that, and a little bit of reflection, so writing.
Okay.
And it might not always be first thing in the morning, but every day there's something there. But if you can find that quiet time in the morning, that's the most important thing. And then the gratitude. I've done this little course called The Science of Happiness, and I've done this recently. I'm doing this Year of Living Brilliantly, which is fun. And it was a reminder again about, looking at 3 good things. Like at the end of the day, even if you had a crappy day, can you find 3 good things? Maybe it was seeing the flowers blooming. Maybe it was getting out for a walk. Maybe it was just a hug you got because you could get it from someone inside your house, but no one else these days. So the gratitude, and just don't, I think it's just as you continue, you're going to find that space is going to be craved even more. I find.
Oh, I love it. Yes. Yeah. That's called growing, right? So now what are you working on right now, Helen, because, your clients are lucky to work with you, like with such a wisdom that is filtering everything you do, your approach to everything. What is the thing you're working on right now that you'd like to share with us, and maybe invite some people to join you or interact with you or reach out to you on your website, where we actually put your website right there?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, lifeworkswell.ca, and that's my social handle for the business as well. And right now I have been taking on clients and helping them with what I call an HR health assessment. It's really to kind of say where they are with their culture work and what their gaps are. So you can always, get a free consultation for that. But I'm shifting into a new program that I'm in the midst of working right now, which is create a mentor culture. And because I think that a lot of feeling okay and contributing and comes from, having others in your corner too, right? So you can decide what you want to do, but if you don't know how to do it, like even, running your business, or if you don't know how to get to the next thing, you need those people in your corner. So I'm in the middle. It's taking me a while. I put it on hold for a while, but I'm writing a book called Create a Mentor Culture. But from that, there will be a program available. And so if anybody's interested in mentorship and creating programs, because it does align with the vision of having the right type of culture. So that's going to be a bit of a shift in a niche going forward. And again, happy to have a consultation. Later this year, I'll be coming out with a program on that. But if you're interested and you want to get on the list and know when it's happening, the best way is to sign up for the newsletter on the website. So lots of exciting things. It's again, another growth, right? Another shift, another growth. Going forward. So I'm excited about that. And I've given myself permission to take my time because of what's been going on for the last year. But, we do what we can. So.
Yeah, remember you talking about the book when we met in Mexico, and so you're right in it.
You know what? I put it on hold last year because I actually was very close to being like the next stage was incorporating the interviews. And so I just put it on hold with everything that was going on, and that's okay. But at the end of this month, I will have the manuscript to the editor.
Yay.
And yeah, then there's going to be book design, cover design. So it's this close, and it's, but from that, a lot of the research I did was really about, there are a lot of people that crave mentors. And what happens in an organization is often it's only the chosen few or the hypos, like high potentials, or the leadership. So, but I'm thinking, imagine if everybody had that opportunity, right? So that they have someone that, they can go to, that they learn and grow together, and then they in turn lift others, right? So that's, again, that contribution piece.
Oh my God, I need to introduce you to some of my friends. I hope they're going to watch the video. Like, they're so in tune with what you're saying. Yeah.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I can't wait then. That's exciting. Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's a great time. I think, hopefully this tough time, this world, that the state of the world right now, that will wake up some people about humanity, right? Like, people are humans, right? Humans first, right? And they have a heart, and they're a person, right? They're not a number, they're not an asset, like that you can just kind of, treat a certain way, like like equipment. So I think that's I think there's going to be some good outcomes, even though it's been a challenge, right? I'm hopeful anyway. So
yes, you are, and we should be. Yeah, of course. So we're gonna wrap up with one question I ask everybody in the building of your mission here. Having your I see that one of your dreams is that everybody in an organization should have a mentor, whether you're part of the leadership team or not, right? Mm-hmm. So when you share your voice and your ideas like that, they're kind of not common ideas. You don't hear that a lot, more and more, because people are more and more in tune with, we're humans. But how much social media helps you share your voice, Helen, do you find? And when I say social media, it could be any online platforms, right? Could be podcasts as well.
Yeah. I have to say it's been a focus for me. And it's been amazing, because I do have, thank you, Jennifer, if you see this later, current marketing assistant, who has been phenomenal with our social. So on LinkedIn and on Instagram, in addition to like writing blogs, and I've been doing them, or she's helped out. And you need to have something, right? I did a series, and you'd be proud of me. I don't know if you must have seen some of them. I did a series at the end of 2020, Monday Mentor Moments, which was getting out of my comfort zone. Because as I said, even though I'm comfortable one-on-one or in smaller groups, but like that, again, getting out there presenting was, if you think about it, I used to cry. It's like, now it's like, get up there. But that was really good. I think having that ability to do the Instagram lives, to get more comfortable, and you can reach a much broader audience. It's important to be clear, as you know, but I have to say, I worked with you a little bit, and I haven't quite got to every day yet, but I have used so much more. And it's always interesting to go back and analyze. So which ones did people, which ones were viewed the most, which ones resonated, right? And but I think if you're just being you, right, that's how you find your voice, right? And don't be afraid. And I mean, sometimes I still am, right? Like, because there's something about this. I'm looking down here, I'm looking here, but just go for it, right? Yeah. And I'm not a dancer, though. I have to say, I'm not a TikTok dancer, not quite yet, but I do think it's really, really important if you want to share and you really believe in your message. It's a great tool, right? It really is.
Wow, I love it. Love it. I remember our first conversation. Yeah, and now you have an audience. You have people who are reaching out to you. You have people who are listening, right? Even the ones who don't do or say anything, they're like sucking in everything you share.
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, I have to say thank you very much to you for this opportunity to chat. And it's so great to see you. I love what you're doing and your energy. And like, think about it. You've got social media love, right? You've got love in your name. And I think that's really interesting because that's the heart part, right? So HR with heart is the tagline, even though I'm like focused more on human relations. And then my next little project, as I said, is Mentor with Heart. And it's, you know, people are talking about love more, like even in the workplace. Like I did a little series on it. It's like, you know, you wouldn't have thought that would happen at all. So stay the course. And I really love watching what you're doing and the support you have for women and entrepreneurs. It's just, and your energy level is always just amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So if you watch the replay or listen to the podcast later on, just leave your question in the comments or go out and reach out to Helen at www.lifeworkswell.ca. Thank you so much. I'm going to close Instagram first because my phone is dying.
Okay, merci beaucoup.
So much for being here. Tammy and the most motive and the Donald, that's awesome. And now also that, Cheers.
So nice.
I just wanted to make sure that we don't miss our Instagram feed here with my phone dying, but that's saved. So thank you so much, Helen. And then thank you everybody who watch or say hi passing by. And I hope you save that video to watch later because it's long interviews, but it's worth, you know, to sit down with a notebook because you shared so many gems. Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you for the inspiration.
Thank you. So great to see you. We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.